Hey, it's Kate Stillman, and welcome back to the Body Goals Crash Course. Hopefully you've printed your workbook and you have filled out what is winning next and what isn't winning next. The more specific you are, the more helpful this course will be. So we're going to go into the next 3 worksheets today. And as we do, I want you to consider what exactly is life on top of you? Where does it feel like life is on top of you? And where does it feel like you are on top of life? Now, what we know from the habits of modern culture is that we have inflammatory habits. A lot of people struggle with chronic inflammation. The World Health Organization says 3 out of 5 people on the planet today are dying of chronic systemic inflammation-related diseases. They're now categorizing heart disease, lung disease, liver disease, immune disease, what else? Cancer, all under chronic inflammation diseases. So how come this happens? And this is really the feeling I find of life on top of you. There's also emotional inflammation, which are the emotions of depression, anxiety, the emotions of frustration, irritability, overwhelm. And the way that I see it is there's just not deep alignment with circadian rhythm. And that's what we're going to get into in the worksheets. But before we do, I want to explain this inflammation equation. For some people, it's too much in their mind, too much stress, too much distress. So the negative stressors are distress. The positive stressors are eustress. And we'll get into that in a lesson or 2 later. When there's too much on your mind, too much in your mind, you might find that there's simply not enough downtime, not enough time for reflection, not enough quiet time, not enough space out and watch the clouds go by kind of time. That also creates inflammation. Too much in the body, this is usually too much food, too much sugar, too much alcohol, too much caffeine. There's simply more than the body can process. Our body is a finely tuned instrument. It's the most delicate technology on the planet is the human body, and we don't even know that much about it. We mapped the human genome. In order to map, this is kind of a fun fact, in order to map the human genome, the NIH had to partner with the DOE, the Department of Energy in the United States, because there was such a massive demand for energy and technology and computing space to run CRISPR technology to figure out the human genome. And the human genome is quite small compared to the microbiome genome and the virome or the viral genome. That's all part of what enables our physiologies to operate without inflammation. So if there's simply eating habits, if there's sleeping habits, if there's relational habits that are creating inflammation on a daily basis, that's really what we want to discover in the little lesson today. So what you're going to do next is you're going to create in this circadian rhythm wheel. You can see up here at the top left that there are there's a way that you're going to make a picture out of your wheel. And you can see over here on bed before 10 p.m., the scale of 1 to 10. What we're looking at is 1 is this never happens, 10 is this always happens, and then everything in between. And you're just going to simply draw a line from, say you're at a 7. Like most of the time you go to bed before 10, you'll draw a line across that box. Wake before dawn, say you're at a 4. Say sometimes you wake up and it's already light. Then you would draw a line across at the 4. Stretching before breakfast, say that never happens. You would be down at the 1. Eating vegetables, say you're a massive vegetable eater, you'd maybe be a 9 and put a line across at 9. And you're going to do this all the way through. These are the habit rhythms that the yoga tradition, the yogis devised as the most basic habits that enable this anti-inflammatory experience on the inside, which is where you feel great, you feel ease, you feel energy, you sleep deeply, you don't have food cravings, right? You have deep hunger for deep nourishment, but you don't have cravings for stuff that's not deeply nourishing to the body. And over here on the left, which habits are you missing? These correspond with the habits over here. Sorry, habits on the right, which habits are you missing? That corresponds with the habits over on the circadian rhythm wheel. And so you'll read about one, and that'll help you kind of get better of a sense of what to be checking off in terms of your scale from 1 to 10. And this will help. This will help in your body goals conversation or your inflammation calculator conversation, these conversations that you'll be having with our team as you go through the Body Goals Crash Course. If you're not taking time for self-massage or foam rolling, you'd score lower. Sitting in peace and quiet, you'd score higher if you're doing that, etc. Intermittent fasting, enjoying your senses, relaxed awareness. Let me explain relaxed awareness over here. That is under the habit number 10, easeful living, focusing on ease instead of stress, and that gives you access to new levels of awareness. So over here, they correspond with what we're trying to point you to in the circadian rhythm wheel. Your goal is to check off any habits that you're missing on the right and to draw your lines on the left so that you end up with a picture. I suggest coloring the picture in because that'll help us help you. What we're trying to do is anchor you in anti-inflammatory habits so that you can be on top of life. All right, now, after you do that, quick lesson is after you do that, you'll finish your lesson today with the trajectory evaluation. And what we want to know is just what is the trajectory of the habits that you're on? If you continue these habits, what will you be experiencing in 1 year? If you continuing these habits, what will you be experiencing in the next 10 weeks? What we know is that when life is on top of you, right, these habits tend to get worse over time. Degenerative habits tend to get worse over time. And if you have the habits of snacking or eating late, if you have the habits of sedentary lifestyle, of convenience foods, of making short-term decisions rather than making decisions today that make it for a better future in the long haul, that's short-term decisions. If you're in a pattern of worrying, of negative thinking, if that's more or less the status quo in your mind, if you're sacrificing sleep, that's what we want you to look at in terms of the trajectories. Where is this going? This is not to make you feel bad. It's more of a, what they say is reckoning day or a come to Jesus moment. We just want you to help you find out where you are on the You Are Here map. We want to help you avoid the diseases of chronic inflammation that lead to poor health over time. All right, that's it. Get onto your worksheets. This will only take a few minutes, I promise. They're pretty obvious. You're going to fill these in and away you go.